Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast chat. And today we're going to discuss outliers in the whole size versus strength discussion and why you should ignore them because they do not apply to you personally. And the reason some of these individuals are pointed out is because they are so extreme, right? They are so extreme. And the examples that people always give is, well, size doesn't equal strength. Well, actually, it doesn't, but it's strength potential, right? Your strength ceiling is raised by hypertrophy. They will say really silly stuff like, well, there's this big bodybuilder over here. He's huge and jacked, and he doesn't lift heavy, and he's weak, and he's not strong. Okay, but what they forget is that maybe the bodybuilder is smaller than a strength athlete. You just think he's big because you see him in pictures till you see him next to a big strength athlete and you realize, oh, it's illusion. Not saying he's not big, but if he looks like a massive bodybuilder, probably really short. There's going to be a lot of site enhancement there. There's a lot of fake muscle in bodybuilders, in the upper body particularly. And because he's gifted and uses lots of special supplements, he is getting big without ever lifting heavy. But you'd be surprised how strong some of them actually are, and a lot of them lift really heavy. People like to use that example, but then it's like, yeah, but you guys watched Ronnie Coleman, who won more Mr. Olympias than any other bodybuilder in history, doing reps with 500 pounds on the bench press, doing reps with 700 pounds on squats and deadlifts, repping them. So, that argument goes out the window as soon as you bring arguably the most winning bodybuilder in recorded history in, who could do those things. But here's the thing. If you were to take that bodybuilder who, if he has perfectly well-developed muscles and has no weak links anywhere in his body, right? He doesn't have weak traps. He doesn't have weak hamstrings. There's nothing weak anywhere. His low back, his abs, everything are strong. And you were to take, say, a bodybuilder who walks around at a lean 240s. Maybe he does lighter at contests. Maybe he's 240 at 10% body fat in his off season. You teach him how to max out, and he doesn't have to go on a strength program. What's going to happen? That guy's going to be benching 405 with a pause and be squatting and deadlifting 600 plus pounds in like 10 weeks. If he just learns how to max out and practices it. That's all it would require. And then he would be there. Then he would have elite powerlifter numbers. It wouldn't take him long. And he wouldn't lose any muscle doing it because the idea is that he would continue his hypertrophy because we don't want to lose muscle when we're getting stronger. It's not ideal. Then everyone likes to use the really small guy. And the reason these really lightweight guys with these amazing lifts are highlighted is because they are so rare. And that's what people need to understand. Okay? You're probably not going to be that guy. If you were that guy, you would already know. How do I know? Because you would already be squatting 500 pounds while weighing 160. You would already be benching 365 while weighing 160. Notice we didn't give just one lift, I gave two. Because a lot of people specialize in a single lift because they have the best, they have the best leverages for it. So you'll see a guy who's relatively small, but then you realize maybe he's not as small as you think. Maybe he just doesn't train biceps, right? Maybe his lats aren't maximized. Maybe he's all pec, tricep, glutes, hamstrings, adductors, things like that. So because he is trying to stay as light as possible, he's not overdeveloping any muscles that do not influence the lifts as primary movers that he wants to bring up. Okay, he might be intentionally staying smaller and only focusing on those. So some of the showy muscles that would make him look a little bigger aren't developed. All right, number two, he's probably very short. Because again, the shorter you are, the much higher your strength is pound for pound. That's a fact. Every coach, strength coach in the world realizes this working with their lifters. It's well known, it's extremely well understood. Weight classes are actually height classes in disguise. They really are. At the elite levels, where everyone's at a healthy body fat, everyone's maximized their potential, shorter guys dominate the lighter weight classes. In other words, if you're 5'9", it's going to be pretty rare for you to do that well in the 181. And you're sure as hell not doing anything in the 165. Okay, and it doesn't matter. You'll see people say, well, I'm whatever, but this guy's over here lifting these amazing weights in the 165, I can do it too. Well, not if you're average height, you're not. Not if you're 5'9". The guy you're looking at might be 5'4". Might be 5'5". Okay, it matters. He has to move the weight a much, much shorter distance, and his frame will hold less total muscle because he's shorter. Or occasionally, you'll get a one-off. You'll get a freak like John Hack, who appears to be average height. John Hack, to my knowledge, is around 5'9", average height. Did amazingly well in the 181, and of course in the 198. 198 he did much better. Why? Because 198 is a much better class for his height. But he's a genetic freak. He has freak leverages. He has probably a freakish neuromuscular efficiency, probably has a very high predisposition towards fast twitch muscle fibers. One of those guys who, if we were to go test his vertical, he probably has a 36-inch vertical or something. Okay, this is 1 in 10 million genetics. These are rare. And so the reason we notice these individuals like this is because they are born so gifted that they do things that the rest of us are not going to do, such as, again, his strength levels at his body weight. Okay, it is what it is, but he is a big, jacked guy. Again, if you start talking about being a lean 198, at average height, that is a big guy. He might not work the show muscles as much, but he's jacked. He just doesn't look like a bodybuilder. But again, he's a genetic aberration. He's an anomaly. And you're not going to be him. He knew very quickly that he was gifted in strength. This is a guy who very, very early in his training was able to squat 500 pounds, was able to bench 315, basically as a novice. Okay, so people who have genetics like John Hack, like 6 months into lifting that they have them. So for you guys who are out there who, if you've been training 6 months and you're barely hitting a 275 squat, you're only benching 225. Now again, that would actually be really good numbers for that training age, to be honest. That's way above average. But if that's where you're at, if you've been training hard for 6 to 8 months on a well-structured novice program, you are not John Hack. You are not going to catch his numbers of what he's pulling off because, again, that is an extremely genetically rare individual. So people like to use these outliers as examples of what can be done, and it is. And we can observe these people because they are so gifted. They stand out because what they are capable of doing is beyond what the rest of us can do. But that's genetics. You are not going to replicate that. So the point here is that for the rest of you who are not in these niche genetic or structural categories, if you want to get stronger, you're going to have to get bigger. And you're probably going to have to get a lot stronger if you want to get bigger. It's going to work both directions. There's going to be an enormous overlap between your size and your strength. And that applies to all these individuals also. Again, you want proof. Look at John Hack, the example we listed of a genetic freak. He's hitting bigger numbers in the 198 than he was in the 181. Why? Because he still has to obey these laws also. When he put on another 15, 16 pounds of muscle, his lifts went up. Because that's how it works. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.